people that going through genetic reduction, they just not suddenly lose a huge amount of hair. So this is a factor that can easily help you to identify if you're going through a consequential or a genetic. So if someone's taking medication, antibiotics, surgery, postpartum, COVID, any surgery, so anything that could have caused a major impact onto the immune system or into even your nerve system, like a period with emotional shock or a breakdown
or stress.
So usually the reduction doesn't happen immediately at that point. So let's say like I had a huge stress this month or an emotional shock with the family, but then I feel the reduction a bit later on, maybe 4-5 months later. And it's quite difficult to relate one with the other because you tend to forget what causes you trauma.
Yes.
So you start seeing all this hair falling and say, oh yeah, because I had this emotional stress. So no, you immediately think, oh my God, I'm going bald. Like it's genetic kicking in. So you need to reevaluate what is causing this excessive shedding. So usually when you lose a big amount, which is beyond the norm, and I don't want to mention here a norm because otherwise people will start counting their hairs and say, okay, I'm in 100 and it's normal. Again, the norm is what you have as a reference. So 100 for me is not 100 for you, is not 100 for the person that only has 100 hairs. That's for sure. So you have a reference of the amount of hair that can fall.
Got it.
If you feel that is way above the average, and that because you can also lose it seasonally throughout the renewal, you also lose a bigger quantity, but you pretty much know when is that time of the year. But if it's randomly happening, if this huge amount of hair persists, you can almost 100% tell that this is a consequence, not genetic. Okay. You can have genetic underneath. That's a different thing.
That's a different thing.
So even if you have genetics, you're still going to have the consequential.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's possible to, yes, I get it. No, that makes so much sense. And I'm also inside, I'm like, so happy.
Because you haven't been dealing, you haven't been dealing with reduction since puberty. And this is very new for you in terms of like the amount of hair that is shedding is something that is obviously worrying you. But if you would know, if you would have been experiencing genetics by this point, you would know. You would, because
I would know because it would have been gradual and over a period of years.
Yeah. And then pregnancies, post-pregnancies would make you very scared because you would expect, because women talk, right? You kind of,
we talk a lot.
You mentally prepare that you're going to lose a huge amount of hair. And then you kind of, sometimes you can get spared from it, like God protects you and say, oh, this one won't lose as much hair, and say, oh my God, I was so lucky, had my baby, and after pregnancy I didn't lose any hair. And
oh my God, I've heard that.
I'm like, wait, it happened with the first one for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still lost hair, but now when someone tells me, oh, I didn't have any hair fall, I'm like, where is the nearest vase? Because I'm going to take it and throw it at this person. That's the one thing you don't want to hear. But
it happened to you on the first one, like you didn't consider it much. You had a bit, but now on the second one, you're like, wow, like what is happening? Like I'm going to end up with no hair. Yeah. Look, when it's consequential, there's two things you need to keep an eye on. Is obviously the quantity freaks you out. I understand. And there's technology to help minimize that. And we can slow down this process and minimize the consequences on the hair, which is completely different than the genetics. We don't use medication or technology for the genetics when it's consequential. Okay. You don't put anyone on hormonal therapy if they have hormonal issues to treat genetics or to treat consequential types of reduction. So you need to be very careful what you're applying on. And picking up the point about what you said, I don't mind if I have other organ malfunctioning, I want hair. This is a very tricky one because you may be taking medication that could inhibit you from pregnancy, affect your fertility, affect your hormonal cycle and your menstrual cycle, and it could give you hair in other areas that you don't want, and it can cause you water retention and heavy metals in the body and toxins and
So you have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
Okay, so let me just simplify this. So we have genetic and we have consequential. These are the two large causes for hair fall and hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
The treatments and the solutions for both are different. Okay, correct?
Correct.
Now I want to ask you a few more questions, which is generic hair myths, right? Which is, I think, something that we all, and especially women, kind of deal with on a daily basis. These kind of decisions that shake up our entire living.